Going upstream, you get great views. If you stay with the bus going upstream, the views are somewhat restricted. Now, Tower Pier just down there, you can see the City Cruises vessels. That's the company who operate the river cruise in conjunction with. Now, your boat will be there every 20 minutes or so. It will take 30 minutes to make it upstream to Westminster Pier. So you walk down to Tower Pier from the start. When you get to the pier, very important you show them your ticket. They'll put you on the correct boat. Do not walk onto the first boat that you see. If you do that, you could end up 20 miles downstream at Shoeburyness. Trust me, you do not want to spend your Saturday afternoon at Shoeburyness. Now, here on the left-hand side, this is the Tower of London. So it's had a vast number of different uses since its inception in the 11th century. It's been a royal palace, a prison, place of torture and execution. 3 queens beheaded at the Tower of London. It's been a royal mint producing coins. Royal Observatory for studying the heavens. It's the site of the first ever London Zoo. So nowadays the Tower of London probably best known for the...
Bus.
Turn the boat around, going up to Westminster. So I do hope that everybody is going to Westminster, not to Greenwich. We do not go to Greenwich. If you are going to Greenwich, you're on the wrong boat, okay? Going the wrong way. But on the way to this Westminster, what we try and do is make your trip a bit more interesting. We'll point you out some of the places of interest as we are going along. It does seem to be a mystery tour. We're not official guides, just crew members of the boats, but we'll certainly do our best. Okay, now I realise and appreciate that we have a few passengers. I see them this morning, they've taken the journey once, but you're okay, lovely, jubbly. See, some passengers haven't yet taken the journey. So we hope you can bear with us, okay? We'll try and point you out some different places. Before we start, not to alarm anybody at all, we have to tell you the boat's fully equipped with all life-saving equipment. It's the law that we tell you the boat's fully equipped with life-saving equipment, life rafts, life belts, and all these life jackets, okay? We also have to show you the emergency exits. Yes, come on. Let you work that one out yourself. If you find it's a bit cold as we're going along, if you press the button under your seats, well, that brings up the heating. It's a very modern boat, this one. The air conditioner. Now we'll take a nice ride anyway. Now first of all, before we turn, we go to our left. No doubt that's where many of you have been there. Tower of London. In its time, been many things. Ancient fortress, palace, prison, castle, zoo, royal mint, even been a royal observatory. The only thing you cannot see from inside that tower, there she is to our left of the River Wall. You had the entry to the Traitors' Gate many years ago. Pirates, traitors, found guilty. They were taken through the entrance to await their executions. You know, the execution to have their heads chopped off, pretty gruesome. But the history of the Tower, well, that's also pretty gruesome. The oldest part, the very oldest part, that's in the centre. See that square tower in the centre, and the 4 turrets. That's the oldest part, known as the Norman Keep. and that's where they keep Normans. But that was started during the reign of William the Conqueror, 1078. That was started. I say it's almost 1,000 years old. This, well, it's over 1,000 years old. Tower of London. Head of us now to that bridge. You know, of course, it's Tower Bridge, most famous bridge over this one. It's over 100 years old, opened in 1894. The lower spans over in the centre, those lower spans do raise. And they raise up, as you know, to allow large ships into this side of the Port of London. Now, if you look at the top of the bridge, there's two catwalks at the top, known as Suicide's Walk. They were also open to the public at one time, but owing to the high rate of suicide from the top of the bridge, they closed these down. However, you can go to the top, cross those catwalks. They've been closed, they're made quite safe, and you cannot jump off the top anymore. The Tower Bridge, that one's a museum bridge. You can visit that one. Turning around ahead of us now, go on the opposite bank. A large glass dome, see the glass dome? Many people ask us about this building. Now, it's a new building, quite new. It was opened about 4 weeks ago. What that is the offices for the Mayor of London. We have a Mayor of London, that's Ken Livingstone. He's known as Red Ken, and that's Ken's Palace, dead ahead of us now. Now that building, ladies and gentlemen, you'll see, for this Mayor of London, that building over there, it cost the taxpayers £70 million for that building. Now they also paid £2 million to an agency to find a name for the building, just to come up with a name, £2 million. And they came up with the most original name for that building over there. That building is City Hall. So that was for £2 million worth. As they blends in nicely, while we have a Mayor of London, I've got no idea, but there you go. That's for Red Ken over there. There you go, that's our film. Now we're turning around, going up at the tide now. Okay, we're going up at this sea. It's incoming. It's incoming tide, so we're going up this. Once again to our right, just over here on the news on right, you have Pamela Stephen. It's Morrison, she's the Dixie Queen. You'll see what this is as we go in past. She's a replica of a Mississippi stone wheel, quite new to this river. Been on the river now just about a year. This one came from Sweden, a nightclub in one time in Sweden, but now it's a nightclub on this river. The old Dixie Queen over there. Back to our left here, this warship. The warship over there, HMS Belfast, that was a heavy cruiser from the last World War. The Belfast was launched 1939, saw action during the last war, saved from the scrap heap, brought up the river and moored as a floating museum. The Belfast, she was built in Ireland, Belfast in Ireland, in the Harbour of the War shipyard, the same shipyard they built the famous Titanic. But back to our right, behind this reef, a nice building here. Now I consider this one to be one of the nicest on this river. That's Watergate House, and that's the head offices to Her Majesty's Customs and Excise. Really nice one. To our left, ladies and gentlemen, again past this warship, we have these buildings over here. The buildings to our left have been built from these old warehouses on the river many years ago. There is a hospital, hotels, offices, there is luxury apartments, fashionable shops, and over to our left we have the new London Bridge City. Now back to our right, here we have the next building. This one's the small building to our right with a rounded roof, goldfish at the top as weather banks. That's the world famous Billingsgate Fish Market. There had been a market on the site for almost 1,000 years. They closed the market about 12 years ago, and that was moved further downstream to the West India docks. Alongside the fish market, a blue glass building alongside, of no particular interest, unless you're a window cleaner. But that's the head offices to the Hong Kong Shanghai Bank. It's one of the richest banking corporations in the world. So now we go ahead of us to the bridge which lays ahead. This is London Bridge, stands on the exact site as the old London Bridge. The old bridge, well, I'm sure some of you know, the old bridge was dismantled, transported, crossed the Atlantic to America, went to Arizona to span the lower Colorado River as a tourist attraction. Now, before we go for London Bridge, go to our right. There's a gap in these buildings coming into our right. Now, at the back of this gap, you'll see a white column, and the column you'll see is Wren's monument to the Great Fire of London of 1666. When as you look, you'll also see the monument does look very much like a candle, and it was a candle at the start of the Great Fire back in 1666 in a small baker's shop in Pudding Lane. As you can see, there's a viewing cage at the top of the monument, open to the public. Through the gap to our right there. Now, going up through London Bridge, yes, we go through London Bridge. Now we're going to our left, especially for any children. And to our left, slightly ahead of us, coming into view, between the buildings, you'll see a small ship at the top. And what you'll see is a replica of St Francis Drake ship. Across to our left, you'll see the Golden Hind. This Golden Hind was built in Devon about 20 years ago. It's a real ship, crossed the Atlantic, twice to America. Now she's in the dock. She's a small museum. As over to our left, Drake ship. The Golden Hind over there's a real ship, this one. To our right, the Regalia is a floating restaurant and nightclub. Now look past the Regalia to our right, you have the White Building. The White Building, Mondale House, the new home of the Overseas Telecommunications Centre. And ladies and gentlemen, just keep looking at that building. Look at the building over there. Now the architect, he actually won an award for the design of the building. Now can anybody see what the building is supposed to be? What it's supposed to represent? Anybody see what that is at all? Yeah. Any guesses out there? No? Like a big boat. You've got a guess, young baby out there. What is it? As you say, the boat. Is it most people say it's a boat or a ship. It is. You ready? Now the building you see to our right, this building is a computer. And that's what this building is, okay? Anybody see that now? I can't see it. I can't see it, but maybe you can. But most people say it's a ship or a boat. Okay. Some people have seen what it is. There you go. This bridge now is a railway bridge. This one is Cannon Street Railway Bridge. Some of the bridges are interesting, some are not so interesting. The only interesting thing about this bridge, it stops the trains rolling in to the river. Now when we go through the other side, and wait till we do this, when we go through the other side, look to the left, back in the left-hand corner of this bridge, you'll see a small pub in the corner of this bridge. Very famous. It's the Anchor famous sign. And it was said to have been in the rooms of the Anchor that Shakespeare used as changing rooms while playing at the Globe Theatre. You see the Globe Theatre stood to our left. See that glass building, the FT building? Well, that is the actual site of Shakespeare's Globe Theatre. That's where the Globe stood. The FT building, Financial Times building, one of London's newspapers. The bridge ahead of us, ladies and gentlemen, Southern Traffic Bridge. Quickly look on the bridge itself, look on this one. See how quiet the bridge is up there? Look, it's very rare to see much traffic. Very rare to see many people on the bridge. Reason? The architects who designed the approach roads to the bridge made such a lovely job of hiding the entrances in the back streets of London. Nobody can find the bridge to use it. The bridge is absolutely useless. When we pass through, just look back. You can see anybody up on the bridge. So give a wave up there. Lost. Absolutely. When we go through the bridge, look there. But you see, it's absolutely useless, that one. Now go back to our left, go across the river to our left, we have a white circular building. See the building over there with the thatched roof? What you have over there is a replica of the Globe Theatre of Shakespeare, being sponsored by the late Sam Wanamaker, the American film producer-director. Now it's being sponsored by the National Lottery. Standing alongside the Globe, the modern building which stands alongside, that's an exhibition centre to Shakespeare, and also to Sam Wanamaker. Shakespeare's Globe. Again to our left, looking past the Globe, large building, Tall Chimney. The Bankside Power Station. The old power station hasn't been in use for about 10 years. A couple of years ago, they converted the power station into a new National Modern Art Gallery. It's now a modern art gallery. This one is free of charge. But then if you've ever seen modern art, you know why it's free of charge. Now ahead of us, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to the bridge ahead of us now. And I'm sure that many of you must know this one. It's a very famous bridge, quite new, only about 2 years old, but famous and known all over the world. This one is the Wibbly Wobbly Bridge. The bridge was opened about 2 years ago, but the bridge stayed open just for 2 days, then they closed the bridge. Reason was, As the people walked over the bridge, swayed, wobbled so much it became unsafe. They had to close the bridge. But as you look up, you can see they reopened the bridge about 10 weeks ago. It's made quite safe. When we go to this bridge, wave to the people up on this bridge. And if you don't wave to these people, this is a terrible bridge as well. They seem to spit down on the boats. So keep waving and takes the fun from this. Okay, that's it. Just keep waving at it. I say it's where the bridge goes to our right, so we've got a gap now, we've got a gap there, so that was above us. Where the bridge goes to our right, look, there's a gap over there, and all, look, see at the back St Paul's. So I say the bridge done us no favours, this one, it's spot the view also of St Paul's. Now as you know, that's Wren's masterpiece. Now St Paul's itself stands 365 feet high, from ground level to the tip of the Golden Cross. It's 1 foot for every day of the year. St Paul's has the second largest unsupported cathedral dome in the world, the largest St Peter's in Rome. Many famous people in the crypt of St Paul's, the Admiral Lord Nelson, Duke of Wellington, Florence Nightingale, Wren himself. Now as a point of interest, well, we have the time, tell you about the tides. Now we're going upriver with the incoming tide, as I said when we turned. We're going up with the incoming tide. It's flowing in from the sea behind us, coming into the river. Tide flows into the river for 5 hours. It then leaves the river for 7. The rise and fall of the tides are between 20 to 28 feet. They're very high, they're very strong tides on this river. Ahead of us we go to the bridges. Ahead of us we have the Blackfriars bridges, close together. The first one we have is Blackfriars Railway Bridge. Now in the centre stands red columns, and this one is the Alexander Railway Bridge. One in the centre, the oldest bridge on this river, built by the famous Victorian engineer Isambard Kingdom Brunel. But you will see they dismantled the top of the centre bridge. They found the top of the bridge to be unsafe. They cannot remove the columns of this bridge, as this would undermine the foundations of the other 2 bridges. The columns must stay there. So the centre bridge we have is the oldest bridge, and it wasn't a very Victorian bridge, this one. The third bridge in this group we have is the Blackfriars Road Bridge. Now as we go up through the bridges, we go once again to our right, just over here to our right on this corner, we have a large white semi-circular building. That is Unilever House, head offices of the famous Lever Brothers. These are the people that manufacture 15 different types of soap powders, and then they claim that each one washes whiter than the other. Really nice too. Now the building alongside, it's a little bit on the steep roof and spire. This one is the City of London School for Boys. But the next building to our right is a beautiful building. It's the small red church-like building, Sion College's school and library for the clergymen of this country. Beautiful building is Sion College. Back to our left, across the river. To our left, 2 buildings over there. The first one we have is impressive, Sea Containers House. And as you look over to that building, you can see it looks very much like a hotel. Now that building was originally intended to be a hotel, but the company that would build this hotel, these went bankrupt. The building stood empty about 10 years, taken over by Sea Containers, converted into a luxury office complex. Does look like a hotel. Now the building alongside, this red one with this tower, in London known as the Oxo building, see from wide look at the tower, many years ago a cold storage warehouse, now converted into luxury apartments. And on top of the Oxo building, there is the restaurant on the very top, and that one is the Oxo restaurant. Most of these old warehouses have converted into luxury apartments. Some of these apartments alongside this river in the warehouses can set you back as much as £3 million. Some can be expensive. Again to our left, past the Oxo building, next building along is a low-lying building, very tall office block in the background, and these go together to make up Kent House. Now that's the home of London Weekend Television Studios, opened 1972 by the Duke of Kent. Bit of a fairground over there as well. I don't know this about. Again to our right, if we look back here, we have on the river wall a small stone archway. The archway over there, Temple Arch, dividing the two cities of London. We're about to leave the City of London, enter the City of Westminster. But as you look to this archway, look carefully and look to the right. I don't know if you can see these, but look to the right of the archway and just under the tree. Can anybody see the silver dragons? Anybody see these at all? There is one, you can see that, yeah? There's one either side of that road. Now there are 5 gateways into the City of London. And those dragons you see, they guard all the gateways. Legend has it they were placed there to keep evil spirits from entering the City of London. They don't work. Get to our right, that white ship you're seeing to our right, the white ship is a frigate, the Wellington. She belongs to the Honourable Company of Marsden Mariners, retired sea captains. They use the ship as a floating club. The president of the club, the Duke of Edinburgh. Now back to our left, ladies and gentlemen, going across the river, we have a concrete building with a sign on the top, the New National Theatre. Now that was voted by London's architects to be the ugliest building built in London over the last 30 years, costing the British taxpayers £17 million to build, but to be fair, it's very nice on the inside. There's the National Theatre. Now back to our right, we do have one of London's nicest buildings. That's this building with this dome in the centre, that's Somerset House. It's the one-time home of the Registrar General. Once upon a time, there's where they kept the records of the births, the deaths, the marriages of English and Welsh subjects. Somerset House, over 200 years old, and a very nice building. Now we look here to the bridge. Now we have Waterloo Traffic Bridge. This one here is the longest bridge over this river, completed in the war years of 1945. But as you look to this bridge, you can see this one, it looks fairly clean. The bridge is faced off with a very expensive Portland stone, has the unique ability to wash itself clean every time it rains, which, as we all know, isn't very often. Look up underneath the bridge, and you'll see very shortly underneath this bridge where the rain doesn't penetrate. Self-cleaning bridge, this one. Now when we go through this bridge, when we go through the bridge, to our right, you have the ship. Now the ship you'll see in the corner, we had the very first, we had the original Queen Mary. The Queen Mary to our right was built 2 years before the Cunard line. It's just over there, that's the first Queen Mary. And that one's been turned into a floating public house, restaurant and nightclub. Again to our right, behind the ship to our right, you also have a building with a black roof, so a black roof and a silver flag at the top. So there you have London's very famous Savoy Hotel. So that's the Savoy. Again to our right, now we're coming down to the River Wall to our right. There we have a column of stone guarded by 2 sphinxes. That's Cleopatra's Needle. That was presented to Great Britain by the Egyptian government to commemorate the victory of Nelson over the French at the Battle of the River Nile. Needle over there is said to be over 3,000 years old. One of a pair, the twin stands in Central Park, New York. But ladies and gentlemen, keep looking to that needle. Look at the needle. Now there is a mistake about the needle. Can anybody see what the mistake is over there? Sorry? You're talking about the sphinxes? I'm sorry, I can't really hear. But what it is, if you're saying, is the sphinxes. Okay, that's the mistake. They're round the wrong way. That's you from your right now. That's what it is. Okay, yeah, you see the sphinxes, they always face outwards to guard. They should be guarding that needle, not facing and admiring the needle. If you see the sphinxes, they always face outwards to guard. When they found out their mistake, what they did, it was a bit too late. The cement had all dried, so too late to turn around, just let them as they were. But it is the mistake, you're quite right. Ahead of us now to the bridge, we have, this one is a railway bridge, it's Charing Cross railway bridge. We also have 2 new bridges alongside the railway bridge. These are new footbridges. The one on this side, as you can see, this one's not really open yet. They say this one on this side should open in maybe in a few days' time. But the one on the other side, the footbridge on the other side, was open about roughly about 3 weeks ago. And the footbridge on the other side of this one is known as the Lady Diana Bridge. That's what they named that one, the Lady Diana Bridge on the other side. Overlook building. Now there you have a lovely building, I'm sure you agree, possibly the finest Gothic building left in London today. That is the Whitehall Court Mansions. There's the one-time home of Lloyd George, George Bernard Shaw and Sir Winston Churchill. Lovely building, that one over there. Back to our left, ladies and gentlemen, what you cannot fail to miss is of course the large wheel. And as many of you must know, this is the London Eye. The London Eye is the biggest Ferris wheel in the world, standing 450 feet high. I have never been on the wheel, don't like heights, won't go up on the wheel. But I am told by passengers who's been on the wheel, takes about half an hour turning around, doesn't stop, get on, get off as the wheel goes around. Travels at 1 mile an hour. I'm also told that once you're at the top of that wheel, on a nice clear day, you can see as far away as Australia. Can anyone believe that? I can't believe that one. But there you go, put it on my leg. Again to our left, this is the biggest Ferris wheel. Get to our left, come past the wheel to our left, overlooks the river, large building. That large building over there, County Hall. The County Hall building over there was sold a couple of years ago, sold to a Japanese consortium. They turned that building into a large hotel. And as you look over there, below the hotel, you have the largest indoor. Come up and over this side. If you look back with your cameras, you can see it takes in the whole of the building. Now, incidentally, ladies and gentlemen, now listen very carefully. Now, if you don't have a camera, okay, so if you don't have a camera, do not worry. Now, what you have to do is you go to your local supermarket. Now there you buy a bottle of HP sauce and you tear the label off. That's exactly the same picture. Okay, so you don't need a camera. HP stands for Houses of Parliament. Not a lot of people know that. Only Michael Caine, Mike Captain, and now you. But there she is. That's not a bad picture of the old building over there. I said Florence Nightingale used during the Crimean War, but I said it's a very famous hospital just over there. St Thomas's. Now, ladies and gentlemen, going back to the pier now, so of course, it does conclude the commentary. Now, before we go alongside the pier, a few small points before we go in. And the very first one is please stay in the seat just so we're safely in the pier. That's for safety reasons, okay? Small boats, wobble about these small little boats. Now, if we have any passengers on the boat, now this one's for passengers that had the bus tickets, the yellow bus tickets. Ladies and gentlemen, the yellow bus tickets, they're just a single journey. They're just a one-way journey, these. You leave the boat when you reach the pier. But what you have to do to collect these buses, it's very, very simple to collect these. Is look at your maps, and that's all you have to do is look at these maps. The maps tell you where the buses are. There's quite a few pick-up points around Westminster. Okay, look at your maps, so you know. If we have any passenger that looks for the Abbey, now if anybody goes off the boat looking for Westminster Abbey, so the Abbey lies behind Parliament, behind this Parliament buildings. It's a few minutes off the pier, and there's the Abbey, just a few minutes away. That's all that is. Now, also, ladies and gentlemen, just a small word about the commentary that we've given on the way up to Westminster. Now, as we said when we started, we're not official guiders, we're not professionals. I know you know that anyway, you gather that one, I'm sure. As we said when we started, the owners make no provision for commentaries, they leave it up to the crews. Now, we the crews of the boats on the river do feel it's pointless, you may agree, a bit silly really, just to go along the river, not know what you're passing, to just go and not know what you're passing or what you're looking at. Seems a bit dark to us, I think you may agree. So what we try and do as a crews of the boats is put a few words together and we do our best to make your trip that bit more interesting. As we say, we hope a bit more enjoyable. Now, if you feel that we may have done so, and if you'd like to show any appreciation towards our efforts for the guide commentary, so you may be at liberty to do so, and that's the customary way when you leave off the boat. As you leave off the boat, you see me at the gates with a champagne bucket, a very big champagne bucket. Why it's a champagne bucket, I don't know. None of us like champagne, but there you go. That's what we've got. So if anyone likes to show any appreciation, so you may do so as you leave the boat. Now, I know it's not been a great day for you, but you've been a lovely